Right, I am up on Kinder Scout. I'm out on a wild camp. So I thought we'd have a look at my new tent, which is the Trekkertent Stealth 1.5. I haven't had this tent very long, so this is not going to be a review. It's more a first look, first impressions, and I will do a full review once I've had a chance to take it out in anger. So first, a bit of overview for why I purchased this tent. I actually sold my Z-Packs duplex to afford to buy this, and the reason for that was that I just wasn't getting enough use out of the Z-Packs duplex. I actually liked it. I thought it was a really good tent, but because it was single skinned and then just had the mesh doors, for use in the UK, I found it quite limited. So, for example, I had wanted to take it out on the Cumbria Way, but we knew on the Cumbria Way at night, especially up on the mountains, the temperature was going to drop to, -2 at times. And, with something which is just single walled with just mesh doors, it would have been too cold. Well, I would have found it too cold. So I was looking on the market for something that was lightweight, around the same kind of weight as the Z-Packs duplex, but had a optional solid inner, which this does. Now I haven't got the solid inner here, so I've got the mesh, but I will put some footage of the solid inner here so you can see that. And when I do my full review, I'll show the tent properly pitched with both the solid and the mesh. So yeah, having the option of the solid inner means that I can take it out when I know it's going to be freezing conditions, and hopefully I'll be warm enough with the heat being retained inside. So this is a trekking pole tent. I've got the DCF version of this. The weight of this tent is 535 grams, so it really is pretty light. So yes, it's 535 grams with the inner and the fly. Obviously you can use it without the inner, so you can just use it kind of tarp style. That is an option. You can raise it up, you can raise it down, so it can be lower to the ground. I've got it pitched a little bit higher tonight, and it requires 2 trekking poles to put it up, one at the front and one at the rear. Obviously, if you don't use trekking poles, you can always buy some carbon poles or aluminium poles to prop this up, but for me it kind of defeats the object really of having a trekking pole tent. So Trekkertent are a manufacturer based in Scotland. As far as I'm aware, there's just the one person that makes it, and a chap named Mark, who I have been dealing with. And my understanding is that he will do modifications for you. So if you ask for custom options, he will see if he can work that in for you. I didn't have any custom options. I just had it as is, basically because there was nothing that I particularly needed. So let's just have a quick look at the tent. I'm not going to go in depth here. Basically, to start, you have this trekking pole at the front here, which does obstruct the door, which is a bit of a shame. You then have this guy line coming down here. Now the doors go over the guy line, which I'll show you in a minute. So this doesn't go outside the doors, it goes inside the door, which is a bit interesting, because this does also get in the way a little bit as well. The mesh version comes with this style door, which you can then pin that back. As you can see, it's just one long tent, and there's not really much else you can do in here. So if I climb in, it's kind of like, oh yeah, not a lot of room. You could get changed in here, so it's just about enough room for you to kind of, take stuff on and off. You would traditionally sleep at this side of the tent, so your head would be here, and your feet would be going down here. I'm 5'10". I have no issues sleeping without my feet touching the ends or the inners. My understanding is it's quite a long tent, so taller people can actually use it. The only place you can really sit up is at the front of the tent here. And like I said, you've got this trekking pole here. Now I'm going to have a bit of a play about with this trekking pole, see if there are any options to potentially pitch it to the side so you can do cooking without it obstructing, and then maybe when you go to sleep put it back in. I don't know. I'm going to have a bit of a play about with the various positions of this and see what I can do. there is an option at the back to have a rear door, which you won't be able to get to from the inside, but it's a place where you could potentially store stuff at the back, so you could unzip it and store various things, but I didn't see any need for that personally, and it also adds a little bit of weight. And there's no pockets in here, so 0 pockets. If I decide to keep this tent, which I'm not 100% sure I'm going to yet, I'm going to see how I get on with it. I might put some little pockets in myself, and I don't know whether it's a possibility that you can ask Mark to put some pockets in or not. I don't know if he does do that, but it's worth asking the question, which is something I didn't think to ask. And there's nowhere to hang stuff either, so there's no loops inside of here either. It is literally just a mesh really, with the sill nylon floor. So it's literally just for sleeping in here really. You're not going to be wanting to hang out in here. But that was the whole point of me getting it. It was more for me to somewhere where I'm just going to sleep for the night, pack up and then go and hit the trail. So basically it is for long distance trails where I just want somewhere to sleep. If I'm out on a wild camp and wanting to enjoy the wild camp and it's winter and I want to be spending a lot of time in the tent, this is not the tent that I will be taking, that is for sure. So yeah, getting out the tent is a bit, it's a bit of a faff because you've got this in the way. But yeah, but maybe it's something that I could get used to. I don't know. So looking around the outside of the tent, you've got this vent here. You've got guy out points here, so you can tension the side of the tents. Obviously you've got your points here where you peg the tent down. To actually pitch it, it takes 6 stakes, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on the other side, 5, because that needs to hold the trekking pole up at the back here, and then 6, because this needs to hold that trekking pole up here, and then obviously an additional 2 here, and you could add more on if you wanted to. And I guess you could also add an additional guy line to this if you really wanted to. So let's just close the tent up. So as you can see, it goes over the guy line, which is here, and then obviously you can then just peg out one or both of the doors, and then you've got these little Velcro straps here to help if it's particularly stormy. So this is the tent with the doors closed. Normally what I do with my bag, actually, there is enough space in the vestibule to put it, which I'll show you in a minute, but I actually store it underneath here. So there is just enough room under here to store the bag. It depends obviously on how big your bag is, but yeah, I found that it does just fit under there, kind of pushes the side out a bit, but it is a good place that you can store your bag if you want to. Right, the last thing we'll look at is we will look at the vestibule. So let's get back inside, have a look at the vestibule space that you've got to work with. The thing I have found, because this door is really long, to actually try and zip it up is a bit of an effort, bit of a stretch. But yeah, this is the vestibule space that you've got to work in. So it is fairly reasonable. You can sit up here, so you could cook here. But I'm going to see what I can do about this pole, because this really is a bit of a little bit of an annoyance. But yeah, it is a pretty decent vestibule space, I have to say. Like I said, you can see there, you can store the bag, which I'll go and do now, so we can have a look at that. So there you go, the bag's just stored underneath here. which isn't bad. That's okay. It's kind of hidden out the way. Obviously, if it was pitched a bit lower, it would keep the bag nice and dry. So there you go, that's a first look, first impressions of the Trekkertent Stealth. There are a few things which will be a bit niggly for me, I think. Main one is the trekking pole down the middle, which I didn't think was going to be as much of a problem for me as it is. But we'll see what we can do about that. No idea about storm worthiness yet. I had it out in some winds last night, but it wasn't too bad. It is quite sturdy. If you give it a bit of a rock here, you have to be going some, but obviously you're going to have to be careful the way you pitch it. The wind's got to go from the rear up the tent. You don't want them hitting these side panels, because otherwise, yeah, that could be problematic. In terms of price, at the moment these retail at £455. Like I said, they are manufactured in Scotland, and then the fabric inner for it is £85. So the solid inner for it is then an additional £85. It does add a little bit of weight. I can't remember the exact amount of weight that it does add. I'll put it on the screen here, but it's not a huge amount. So it does end up being quite an expensive tent. So I'm hoping I managed to get a little bit of use out of it. Right, I hope you found this video useful. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them below. Please do like and subscribe, it really does help the channel. And as always, stay safe, keep on trekking. I'll see you on the next one.